Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Ask the Knights Live. I am Baron Logan Path Warden, your host, and what can I say? We have another fantastic, deadly duo on the show this week, just here, just for you. But before we get to those fantastic gentlemen, um, first we'll do our warnings. First and foremost, this show may use strong or offensive language. Okay, yeah, we will sometimes say some naughty words. So just be aware of that, and everything will be fine. Secondly, this is not an official production or product of the Society for Creative Anachronism, and as such, they cannot be held responsible for all the goofy shit that we do. So, third and foremost, this is a awesome show. I get to ask tons of really cool questions, but I don't have all the cool questions because the first half of the show is me, the second half of the show is you. So get your questions into the comments as soon as possible because well, we've got a really good show for you, and I think you're you're going to have fun with this one, folks. So without further ado, I will shut my hole and we will bring in our illustrious guest. Good evening, gentlemen. How are you tonight?
Excellent. Thank you. Trying to be polite. Let somebody go first. So we're not talking over each other.
Awesome. So before we get started here, would you guys care to introduce yourselves?
Yeah, I'm Sir Duncan, Viscount out of Awertha. I've been in the SCA for 27, 28 years, maybe more. I don't know. I've been hit in the head a few times. I've been in multiple kingdoms. I'm sure that's going to come up as we discuss and drink throughout the night.
Sounds good.
I'm Duke Adhemar de Rouen of Meridies, and I've been in the SCA for 18 years this year. It'll be 18 years in August.
Awesome. Excellent. Well, welcome once again, gents. Thank you so much for coming. And before we get into the questions, I just want to remind everybody out there, hey, if you like this show and you like shows like that, make sure that you pull back and snap the hell out of that like button. The more likes we get, the more our show gets distributed and pushed out all over the known world. And that just means we get more people. We get more people. We keep doing shows. So go ahead and hit that like button for us. We really do appreciate it. With that now said, let's get into some questions, shall we, Joe?
Sure.
All right. First question. This is a question that I like to ask pretty much all my guests. And how did you get started in the SA? How did you find it?
For me, I kind of two things. I'd seen it around the corner from where I used to box at our local rec department. I was very athletic. In high school, I played baseball, swam on the swim team, and then did rec boxing too. And our practice back then was right around the corner. So I used to see it a lot. But what really got me in is my now squire brother, who still plays when he gets some free time. But I met him in my Japanese foreign language class, and he told me all about it. And I was like, yeah, I've been meaning to go, and just didn't have a way to get there. So, I mean, I was 14 at the time, and he said, I'll pick you up. And the rest is history.
Interesting.
So with me, it took a couple of times, in the late 80s up in Alaska. I saw these guys, they looked like, honestly, they look like goofballs in, hard armor and duct tape and what looked like metal football helmets. And I went, wow, that kind of would be cool, but no. And, I kind of passed it off. And then in Arizona, I was in Canto Park, and I saw these guys, and I was like, well, I mean, they're still in like steel football helmets, and it just it kind of has an idea of something that might be fun. But I had a buddy of mine, Sean the Lads. He and I, we used to play D&D together, and he was like, oh yeah, man, we beat the crap out of each other with sticks, and we do it down at this park in Phoenix. And I was like, you mean those goofballs in the steel football helmets? And he's like, well, I mean, and he kind of defended it a little bit, but he drugged me down there, and I was hooked. I mean, of course I got myself a closed face helm, but met some great people there. The hook got set, and I've been doing it ever since. And love it.
I know exactly what you mean. My first helm was a Freon can helm. It's one of the last ones. Yeah. So
double
that
layer
was
or single layer?
It was the single, and it was yeah. Dude, I was 19 at college, and yeah, it was. I loved every single minute of it, even though like the whole helm, stood out this far from my head.
Double layer Freon helmets are not safe, much less single layer helmets.
Yeah, well, like I said, it was the first one.
Kudos to you, man.
And it was a loner.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So that's awesome. I love hearing my guest stories about how they got into the SCA. There's so many different ways that people find the SCA, but this is normally how it happens. But I'm going to ask you the question anyway. We normally get a similar answer, but what keeps you coming back? Why stay for so long?
Being honest, I've had to think about this several times, even prior to the pandemic. And at times it's my very active wife who basically says, you don't have to go to an event, but you're going to pack the trailer for me. It's the it's the fact that without the SCA, I'd have to find other hobbies. And finding other hobbies isn't so hard, but I would have to find other friends. And that's not something that I'm willing to give up quite so easy. So what keeps me coming back isn't really the question. It's what keeps me involved. And even with the pandemic, I love you too, babe. But I hope that was in the chat and not a private message. Anyhow, but it's more along the lines of, even without the events, I've had the people that I can socialize with, that I can interact with. I mean, even Adam and I, we haven't seen each other in person in a year or two, maybe 3. But I mean, we're playing video games together. We're talking about mundane stuff together. And without the SCA, I'd never met him. So, that's really what it's about. It's about the quality of people, not the events.
Mm-hmm.
Not to echo Duncan too much, but I think that's probably most people's answer is, I mean, as fun as the SCA is, and there's so much to the SCA that's enjoyable, whether it's the arts community or archery or fighting. I think a lot of prospective fighters who want to follow that path would think that every fighter's first answer is, oh man, it's the battlefield. And for sure, the love of being in harness is absolutely one of those things that keeps me coming back. But I mean, honestly, if I could never fight again, I'd be okay. I would come back for the people. I would certainly come back for target archery, and I would certainly come back for just, enjoying the company of the friends that I've made. that's really what keeps me coming back, is just knowing that I've got people that I can show up to an event at, and it goes both ways. We will give each other the shirt off of our backs. We will talk to each other between events too. I mean, it's much more encapsulating than just who you see at events. But like Duncan said, it's very much those relationships you maintain outside of events, and thankfully the internet makes that a lot more possible.
So I'll ask you this, and this isn't on my list of questions, but it just occurred to me. Say you're you're a new person, going to your first event, or say even you've maybe you've been in the SCA for a long time. Maybe you've moved to a new kingdom, or someplace where you don't know anyone. What do you think would be like? What would you suggest as a way to get yourself reintegrated or in for the first time? Because like you said, it's the people. What's the best way to go about getting to know people in a new area, or just all over again? Say you took a few years off.
So the biggest thing I encourage anybody to do is to relax, have fun, find people that you share interests or even just have some chemistry with. That's the biggest thing. You don't have to latch yourselves on to the first group of people you run into or the first group of people that are nice to you. You don't owe them anything. But it is very important to find people that you really click with, and stick with them and make it work, and try and figure out where your home is in your local group in the SCA. And it's gonna, it's not easy. Most new people I see that come in, I mean, it takes them a year or two to really find their home, whether that's in the pirate household or the Landsconnect household or wherever it may be. And it just takes some time to kind of find your feet. And for a lot of people that come into the SCA, you're very shy. A lot of people that come into the SCA are very shy, and it's very hard to make friends. But thankfully, you're in a club full of people who you have a lot more in common with than you don't. So that does make it a little easier. And once you jump that bridge, just finding some people you have some common interest with, and make friends and leave it at that. Whether your interests are the same or different in the SCA, it doesn't matter. Being friends first, I think, is one of the biggest things I certainly encourage people to look for when they're new in the SCA, because that's what keeps you coming back.
Find new friends.
Adhemar, he actually hit on a good point, which is you can't be shy. We are a society of geeks, nerds, and social outcasts. Whether we were, jocks in high school, we had our secret D&D clubs. The truth is, whether you're some, super duke out west, love you, Miles. But no, I mean, doesn't matter who you are in the SCA. You're a nerd that puts on medieval armor or medieval clothes and runs around with an alias name, pretending that you live 1,000 years ago. So guess what? We're geeks, we're nerds, we're social outcasts. Getting over all of that, suddenly I mean, it's a fact. It is a LARP. We defend it to the bitter bone. It's not a LARP. Okay, cool. It's not a LARP. But guess what? In case anybody out there was wondering, my real name is not Duncan. So here's the thing with that. If you come into this shy, we struggle to reach out and connect with the people that are shy. It's awkward for a lot of us to reach out to connect with the people that are shy. So it's a give and take. Those of us that have been in, we need to be accepting of the ones that are coming in or coming back, because as a society, we've pushed a lot of our members away because of judgment. whatever that judgment is. You know, people have stepped aside and they've gone, you know what? Yeah, I played in the SCA for a long time, and then insert whatever happened, and they said, and I left. Okay, so coming back, taking a break, it comes down to don't be shy. Insert yourself in our society, because, I mean, we did. And, you know, I mean, I tell people all the time, my white belt and chain, $2.50 will get me a cup of coffee.
Not at Starbucks, it won't.
No, not at I'm talking the gas station now. No, it
Actually,
really is.
if you get a black coffee at Starbucks, it's about that.
Oh, okay. Well,
But you got to leave room for cream and sugar. No, it comes down to, you know, don't be shy. Do what you want to do in the SCA, and stand up for yourself. Don't be judged.
I like that answer. I really do. I mean,
Nailed it.
It's your fun, right? So have it.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right.
If I'm squinting, it's because I don't have my glasses on, so I'm reading this stuff. And it's not my resting bitch face. Well, it might be.
All right, I got it. So we're about a quarter of the way through the show. I know it flies really fast. So I will remind all the folks who may not have seen the opening of the show that, hey, this show is all about your questions, because we hit the halfway point and I start asking the questions that you send in. So make sure you send in those questions. And make sure that you include your SCA name and title, so that I can screw it up, because it's what I do. All right. So let's get on to our next question here. Oh, this is good. I like asking this question. So we've got the word up. There's a dog on screen. Who's that?
This is Bark Vader.
Bark Vader. That's adorable and frightening all at the same time.
Yeah, he is bored and would like to say hi.
Well, so it is a tradition.
Okay,
Kevin.
So I'm going to answer that one right now, because it is a Scythian hat, and it's awesome. Because when it's raining, look, you got an umbrella built in, and when it's hot, you just lift it up like this. And then, you know, when it's cold, you just bring it around your neck. It's very, very capable hat.
That's pretty hot right there. That's badass.
You're just, yeah. Kevin's just jealous.
All right. So, you know, we all know that this pandemic has been a pain, and the words that we're not going to say on this show. We say them all the time, seriously. But it's been a real pain. But now we're seeing, you know, that light at the end of the tunnel. It looks like we may be getting back to in-person events sometime around June-ish. And if so, if that happens, if we can do that, what events are you looking forward to the most? Now, I'm going to say, give me an in-kingdom event for you, and tell us why you want to go to that event. And then give us an out-of-kingdom event, something that you've been to before or you've never been to before, that you've made up your mind that you are going to go to now that everything is winding down.
Oh, I'm on the spot.
So, I think Bark Vader has an opinion.
Yeah. So I've been active duty. I've been inoculated, vaccinated, whatever you want to call it, for quite a while. I actively work with COVID soldiers. And given the restrictions that the BOD has put in place, as long as the current restrictions are in place, I will not be attending these events.
Oh, well, that stinks.
yeah, unfortunately, yeah, I'm not gonna fight with a mask on. I can go down the medical road on that, but I will not subject myself to fighting with a mask on. And I see, given our climate right now, too many potential problems with the 100% mask mandate. I support masks. I absolutely do. You know, whether they're effective or not isn't the point. But if we're going to hold to the current restrictions, and I don't have an issue with those restrictions, but I don't see how you could have you know, the level of interaction, fun, you know, sitting at a community table, enjoying a feast with my friends, and be prohibited from doing that. I think I'm going to wait a little bit longer before I jump off that pier and into those events.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know if my opinion's quite as strong as Duncan's, but I definitely want to have the full, clear go-ahead. You know, high vaccination rate. I'm with Duncan. Fighting with a mask on is not an option for me. It just isn't, because I in a closed face helm, certainly I have a hard enough time breathing, and I think a lot of fighters are going to feel this way, because I've been in the gym during the whole pandemic, and my gym's been very good. It's a small gym, and we wear masks and we sanitize all the equipment as we go. It's been very good. As far as I know, there hasn't been a case of COVID related to people going to my gym yet, but thankfully it's a small town. I'm very fortunate to live in a rural area, so COVID hasn't been that big of a deal here. But I mean, working out for half an hour isn't at all like wearing 40, 50 pounds of gear and a mask and a helmet. I mean, I think that is going to be a big challenge. I think the SCA does have to be kind of careful on how we do get back to normal, because if getting back to normal also, you know, drives some people away or back to dormancy, at least for a little while longer, it is going to be a big challenge. And I don't know if there's an easy answer to solving that problem, but you know, safety is certainly paramount. And I think with the vaccine schedule going like it is, people, I think at this point, are pretty comfortable wearing masks. And outside of fighting, I've got no issue wearing one. I'm in sales. I work and approach people all the time for my job. So I mean, at least for me, and I'm sure for most everybody else, they're pretty comfortable with their masks between the grocery store and everything else. So I think it's going to be fine getting back to normal, but we do have to be very aware of the challenges we've got coming.
You know, the both of you both bring up excellent points, and that have never been brought up on the show before. Yeah, I really appreciate that, and I'm wondering if maybe you know, a soft open, where we don't open for combat sports. Maybe we just open for things like target archery and thrown weapons and, you know, arts and sciences. But then again, like, you know, how do you have a bardic where you have to keep everybody
right
masked up? You know, if you play a wind instrument or something like that, or if you're a singer or a poet, you know, you know, breathing and not just regular breathing. Everybody can do regular breathing in a mask, but the breathing, you know, when you're singing is a lot different than just your regular everyday breathing, or when you're playing a wind instrument. So I don't know. That's a really, really good question. We, like I said, we've never gotten answers like that before on this show.
If I can blame Duncan for doing a really bad job with the first question, he didn't mention, and Kevin is pointing out, and he's right. So the question really was what events we're looking forward to going to. So real quick, I'm going to answer those. in Kingdom, for me, a lot of people who have been to Meridiers or are familiar, Fool's War and Castle Wars, a lot of us kind of treat them as the same event. They're hosted by two different groups, but they're usually at a similar location and are of similar size. But they are long weekend events that we all look very much forward to every year. They are so much fun. We have tons of folks coming from out of Kingdom. They're laid back, relaxed. We've got, Friday night tournaments and, war scenarios on Saturday. Not huge events by any standard, but always a lot of fun. Out of Kingdom, I went to Great Western War for the first time the year before the pandemic, and that to this day is still the best, most fun event I've probably ever been to in the 18 years that I've been in the SCA. I've had stupendously high levels of fun all over the SCA and all over the country. But Great Western War is that shining beacon of, wow, I didn't know SCA events could be that fun.
Yeah, it's absolutely one of my favorite. Now, you mentioned Castle Wars, and I would like His Excellency Duncan to answer the question with his stuff, but I want to talk to you about Castle Wars because there's a story. There's a story behind one of those, isn't there?
Oh,
there he goes.
What story?
Who's the king right now, Adam?
It's Tim. You're safe.
No, I don't think I am.
Now,
was the king back then too.
If this is a story that's going to incriminate you in any way, then you don't have to tell it.
I don't know. What story are we talking about? There's a lot of Castle Wars. Like there's one every year.
I mean,
Duncan's old.
I'm not going to say there's a specific story, but if you have a specific story in mind, I'd love to hear.
There might have been an occasion that I went to Castle Wars So, my lovely wife, who, by the way, I picked her up at an SCA event. So she did a girls' trip to some out of kingdom event. So
Great Western War. I was there.
That's right. That's why you're on the girls only chat.
Yes.
Okay.
I am a member of the best girls trip ever group chat because I crashed the girls trip.
Actually, I heard you were singing like Lorena McKenna or something in the back of the minivan. But so anyhow, yes, I went out and let's just say I can make a pretty big ass of myself, but I'm really, really talented at it when I'm pretty solidly intoxicated the entire week I'm there. So I might have kept asking for like water in court, and our knight, Conan McPherson, might have kept giving me Sailor Jerry's, like, the best rot gut ever. And I might have, hypothetically speaking, I might have given my 100% unfiltered opinion on some things. But Tim, if you're watching this, I still love you, buddy. And no hard feelings.
Something tells me there's a little bit more to that story, but Adhemar, did you have a story about a Castle Wars that you wanted to tell?
About Castle Wars in particular, no. But those two events, Castle and Fool's War, I mean, it's just two of those events, and I think every kingdom's got those events that, there's the one or two favorite events to go to, and so the comment popping up right now is exactly what I was going to go for. So at Fool's War, there's a little bit of a no holds barred, like it's April Fool's theme kind of event, and the last few years we've done Friday night fights, and in the tournament we've got a whole like DJ set up, and everybody's got their own theme song, like they're a baseball player coming up.
That when Pietro went in there and twerked.
Yeah. And people dance and they sing, and one of the last ones I did. If you've heard the song "It's Raining Tacos," that was the song I did.
I have not,
So
but I
it's
will.
just a fun tournament that we do, and it's very laid back, and we jam out, and at the end of the tournament they play some cool jams, and everybody comes out and dances and just parties and has a good time. I mean, it's just focusing on having a good time. The rest of the SCA, who cares? Let's just have a good time and enjoy each other's company, and that's a big part of why those events mean so much to me, because they are small enough where there's no expectation for us to have this high level of authenticity, but there is an expectation we have a high level of fun.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So I'm one of those people who I like both of those things. Like, I was in the Combat of the 30 at Penzic 40. One of the most fantastic things in my SCA career. I'll never forget it. I loved it. Loved the fact that my kit was good enough to be in it, and then the fight was awesome. But then I also fought in the Giants versus Dwarves battle. Yeah, I was not on the Giants side. Everybody who knows me would know that. But they were both lots of fun. So, like I just dig how different things can be in the SCA and still just be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I think it's one of our strengths, actually. All right, gents, we've reached the halfway point, and even though I still have a billion awesome questions that I'd love to ask you and get your opinions on, well, we've got to get to the good questions. The good questions come from our viewers, so we're going to do that. But before we do that, I have a couple of pictures or a couple of things I have to know about. So, the Prince of Dreams. Would you care to explain this?
I mean, I can tell you absolutely everything about it.
I
wasn't involved in that at all. It was it's probably Meridier's best kept secret of all time, because it was a complete surprise to me when Coronation Day happened. So let's see, that was fall of 2013. So that would have been 2014 was when that happened. And for whatever reason, everybody was very excited that we had a young, vibrant couple stepping up, and my good friend Sebastianos decided he would do something funny, and he took those couple of pictures and used some really bad Photoshop skills, bought an inordinate amount of very cheap romance novels and had them recovered with his own made-up labels with me on the front. It's a Photoshop picture from, God, 16, 17 years ago. I mean, it was bad. Like my garb at the time was like Walmart ladies plus size section shirts that had medievalish embroidery on them and tights with like pirate boots. I mean, that was my garb. So that's when those pictures hail from. But yeah, he decided he'd make those books, distribute them, because all the ladies were so excited for Adhemar to be king, and that was Coronation. I processed out into a bunch of fangirls wanting me to sign copies of these books and parts of their anatomy.
Well, I will tell you this. Yes, he is so dreamy. But yeah, I've already, before the show even started, I have gotten messages on the Ask the Knights page, unlike any messages I have ever gotten before. So whatever you're doing, you must be doing it right. So I'm just going to say keep it up.
Thanks.
And there are some questions that I had to put into the X-rated bin that can't be asked. So
Wow.
it was they were asking for like measurements and stuff like that. We're not getting into that. We're not doing it. I'm sorry.
32 waist, 32 inseams, 44-inch chest. That's all you're getting.
Yeah, that none of the measurements they were asking for. Okay, so all right, shall we get to these awesome viewer
6
questions?
inches.
Yeah, there you go. That one just made the pile. Okay, let's see. All right, so here's a good one from His Highness Sir Kenrick, Prince of the Summits. What has changed since you got knighted, and how has it changed you?
Oh, figures.
I get to go first.
No, that's Duncan first on that one.
Oh, okay. Duncan first.
Because he was specifically asking.
He should go first. Trust me, it's way better he goes first.
He was specifically asking Duncan, yeah.
So yeah, his Highness Kenrick, a little backstory. He was actually my foster knight when I was up in Awertha, and he's a very good friend. So what's changed for me? Honestly, nothing. I act the same, talk the same, drink the same, have the same, opinions that I did prior to receiving the accolade. So, a lot of times we're asked, has getting knighted changed you? It hasn't. If anything, in all honesty, in 2 cups in, it's made me a little lazier. I've used that term. I got nothing to prove, so I'm not going to practice, which is a horrible excuse. But I refused to let getting a belt and chain change me or change the way people look at me, treat me. I'm not going to let you, have me take a BS shot just because my belt has finally faded to white. If it's a BS shot, then I'm not taking it, and you're not gonna make me take it. You're gonna hit me with some sting, and I'm gonna make you take a shot that has some zip on it. And if it doesn't, then you better not take it. So nothing's changed. Honestly, Your Highness, nothing's changed.
How about you, Grace?
Not to echo Duncan too much, but honestly, and I'll say this: instead of saying that likewise nothing's changed, I will instead say that for any peer, I expect that nothing changes when you get recognized for your station. I expect that nothing changes. The people who change once they've become a peer are generally some of the lesser examples of peers when it comes to setting the bar or the example. If getting the accolade changes who you are, generally I feel like that does you and the order a disservice, because it is a recognition. It's not a change of station, and I think that's the part that worries me, because there are those people, and I think everybody watching this knows that there are those people who changed, or there's even those candidates who the order hoped they would change after the accolade, and a lot of the time that doesn't work out so well. But for me, I hope, and I don't think that I've changed. And I certainly hope that other people who receive any of the accolades, be it Master of Defense, Laurel Pelican, or Knight, that they don't change once they receive the accolade.
Well said. Very well said. I agree wholeheartedly. Okay, so a little change of pace here. Let's we haven't talked a lot about the martial activities of knighthood. So this one comes from Lord Cal from Merides. You guys met him before. He's all right.
He's okay.
How do other I mean, as far as people go, he's just okay. So how do other martial interests like boxing affect your SCA fighting?
Well, for me, absolutely. Boxing is a huge part of how strangely enough, my footwork was very bad for a long time, even though it was boxing footwork. And spending a lot of time with Duke Alanon and Sir Duke Alanon of Meridies, now of Atenvelt, and I think eventually of the West if he hasn't moved yet. And Sir Keegan and Sir Mikolaj of Atenvelt both taught me a lot about how to better use my boxing footwork, which was, again, never great, but how to adapt that to work better for the SCA. That definitely has hinged on me. A lot of the head bobs and movement from boxing is still very much a part of what I do now. And I was never any good at boxing. A matter of fact, part of the reason I gave up boxing is because I wasn't good at it, and I found the SCA, and I could adapt what little I did know about boxing and use it in the SCA, and it worked very well.
Cool.
So, since I was actually quite young, I've been a competitive Muay Thai fighter, kickboxer. How does it translate? Honestly, taught me how to take a hit. You can do like a lot of the boxers are out there, and they can, dodge and bob and weave. I got really good at standing tall, standing proud, and taking it right to the face. And, there are a number of fighters out there that'll be like, Duncan takes a flat snap like nobody's business. So, the stamina, but I'll tell anybody, half the fight is psychological. Half the fight is, the mind game that you play with your opponent. Going to the first time Adam and I ever fought, it was like I jumped into a nest of angry bees. He was faster than me. He's like 20 years younger than me. He was hitting me 2, 3, 4, 5 times every time that I was coming and swinging a stick at him. I felt like a troll in the woods. And then I got the mindset, and I was like, all right, you little shit, here's what's going to happen. And the next thing I know, I'm looking at the bottom of his boots is I knocked him ass over tea kettle. And then I was like, oh my God, I feel so bad. I just knocked the prince over. And that's always been my attitude. It's like, okay, you can beat me up until I get to the point that I'm about to beat you down. So yeah, it's competitive Muay Thai fighting has been what I've pulled on. Unfortunately, it doesn't play so well in like tourneys and stuff, because I need to get hit a few times before I get my mindset. Right.
That's why the pre-tourney pickup is always a good idea for me.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to move on to a question from the Honorable Lord Thorin from the East. What was the biggest roadblock you faced on your path? What was a hurdle that tripped you up the most?
I warned you all about these unfiltered comments.
Hey, we don't have filters here.
My biggest hurdle was I'm going to let Adhemar go first.
Absolutely, no problem.
So this is a really tough question because Duncan and I both are very atypical candidates, and for two very different reasons. So Duncan is in the military and moves all the damn time. So that's the only reason Duncan wasn't knighted a lot sooner than he was, and that's nobody's fault at all. It was a great honor of mine to even be able to consider Duncan for knighthood before he moved out of Meridies. My first reign, second reign, I forget, but anyway, I think it was second reign. But Duncan should have been knighted much sooner, and you can probably say that for a lot of people, and that's okay. Everybody's path is different. That was, if I had to presume for Duncan, that was, I would think, his biggest roadblock, because his character is outstanding. His fighting, the first time I ever fought him, I grabbed knights at the event as Prince and said, "Oh my God, who is this person, and why isn't he a knight yet?" And for me personally, my biggest roadblock for becoming a knight was myself. I royally screwed up a lot of things, and I wouldn't change my path for anything, because those mistakes that I made taught me and developed my character to be what it is today. And I wouldn't change anything. I would not change my history in the SCA if I could pay $1 to do it. I wouldn't. Who I am and the values that I espouse and the virtues that I espouse are controversial and upsetting to some, and pleasing and gratifying to others. And I wouldn't change it for anything.
Excellent. So Duncan, would you like to take a crack at it?
Yeah, I've received some counsel from my lovely lady, also my wife, and I mean, her exact quote: "You could say the military," and it's to a large degree that is true. It's also the fact that I'm very outspoken. I never saw the belt and chain as something that's, holier than thou. I never saw it as, oh my God, knights put their pants on some certain special way. I never treated a knight different than anybody else. So I tended to upset the norm. I was told the biggest regret of somebody's reign was that they couldn't get me knighted. And so then I wore that, like a scarlet letter on my chest, and it really affected my attitude. And so that was the second thing. It caused me to kind of delay that. And it wasn't until I went out west where you all kind of had that, judge you for what you actually are. When Alfar was king and my spirit was broken, knighthood was a path that was, it just wasn't going to happen. And I had finally, and we hear about people saying, oh, once you get your mindset off of it, it'll happen. In my case, it truly happened. I mean, if you ever, get the opportunity to ask Alfar, about him offering me, I literally had a gun in my hand in a gun closet. And it took him about 6 times of asking me before they did say, put the gun down. Before I finally realized what they were talking about. It was so far out of my mind. No threats or anything. It was, we were talking about, guns and old World War II bayonets and the historical memorabilia and stuff like that. And he's like, hey man, hey, what do you think about this? And I was like, what are you talking about? It was craziness. It was craziness. but the right people out west got my headspace and timing correct. But yeah, the military definitely made the path to knighthood more difficult.
No, I agree with you 100%. I just retired a little bit over 2 years ago. And not only was I moving every few years, but because of the career path that I had in the military, I was deployed all the time. I'd be home for 6 months and gone for 8 months out of the year, and that makes it hard to spend time with your family, let alone get to events and have people know who you are.
What good are you going to be to the kingdom that's thinking about knighting you?
Exactly, and that's part of the thing that a lot of people don't consider is that, it's not just being a good fighter, and it's not just being around. It's also being of service. So with that, like, how important to you, or how important is it to you for your squires to do more than just fight? You know what I mean? Like to be well-rounded, to maybe attempt an art, to serve. That, how important is it to be well-rounded off the field?
So here's my unfiltered philosophy on this. A laurel has an apprentice, and a pelican has a protege. A knight has a squire. They should be able to do both of those other things. A squire should be able to be proficient in an art. That squire should be, well versed in providing service. And different than the other two, that squire should be proficient on the field and familiar with the weapons of tournament combat. So yeah, before I only have one squire, and before I ever showed her how to throw a shot, I was showing her how to set rivets. I was showing her how to do woodwork and do jewelry. As far as the service, she's a pelican now, but she had that cornered on the market. So, absolutely. But yeah, no, I mean, a squire should encompass all fields of peerages.
So that reminds me of a funny story, and it's tongue in cheek, but it reminds me of a time when Duke Phelan, if he's watching, and I know a lot of people who know Duke Phelan are watching, but we were at an Estrella and he was king once, and he was getting his haircut, as the crowns of Estrella often do when you're king of Atenvelt. A very famous barber would always give the king of Atenvelt a haircut at Estrella. I'll never forget that Richie Phelan was very, very sick. Now he's Arius of Sparta. He's no longer Phelan. But anyway, I digress. So he was getting his haircut. He had a sinus infection, or he was dog sick, something. And somebody had brought up kind of a regular issue or something that needed to be done. And it involved a knight. And I don't know, they were comparing it to how, knights have to work harder than the other peers. And I'll never forget Phelan saying, "Oh my God, it's a super peer, the knights." And in a fashion, he's not wrong, but he is wrong. But there is certainly an expectation that whether you're a squire or a knight, that you do more than just fighting, because being a knight is about more than just fighting. And you don't have to be artistic. You don't have to be talented in doing something else, but you've got to find something else besides qualify yourself as a peer. And then I think that goes for every peerage. Whether you're a laurel, you shouldn't only be good at calligraphy. If you're a pelican, you shouldn't only be good at building websites or whatever it is your focus is, be it master of defense, laurel, pelican, or knight. Hey.
I agree 100%. So we've got 4 or 5 more really good questions, and I really want to get to them. So if we go a little bit long, is that okay with you guys?
Sure.
Just a few minutes over, because there are some good questions, like this
I'm
one
good.
from Baroness Eleonora O'Connor, and this is specifically for Duncan. How did you get the name Viscount Cupcake?
Who sent the question?
That's wait, it should pop up here in a second. That's Baroness Eleonora O'Connor.
Oh, okay. I thought it was Big Brother again. All right. So I was Prince. I think it was my first reign. And we had gone down for West crown turning. And we'd been in Alaska for about 3 months, just long enough to clear your system of all the pollens and everything. And so I go down there and I'm dying in this dry grass field. And so, and I'll try to make the story quick, but so the Prince of Sinagua, Big Brother, they did basically hold the field, and you had like all the princes are holding the 4 corners of the field, and people are coming out and fighting us, and then it got to the point that I'm dying. Allergies are just killing me. So I go and I, feel sorry for myself, and I'm sitting off to the sideline, and finally I'm like, okay, I cannot be that guy any longer. So I go back out there, and Warwick and we start fighting each other. And I'm like, this slow fat guy, I can beat him. He's just the Prince of Sinagua. I'm the Prince of Awertha. So I go to do this fancy jump shot, fail miserably. And I basically jumped into his arms and hand him my sword. Like, here, just. And so then, we kind of laugh about it. And then he does the same exact shot and drills me, just thrusts me right in the face. And I look at him and I'm like, just serve that up to me like it was a damn cupcake. So I walk off the field just feeling all sad and mopey. And, we laugh about it. I'm kind of faking the laugh. And about a week later, we're at Great Western War. And I might have had a little bit of a lot to drink. And somebody comes up, and, it's almost like if you're stoned, not that I've done that being in the military, but I got the munchies. So somebody hands me a cupcake. And now we're at like the West Royal Party, like the prim and proper of all the prim and proper. And here I am at the time, an unbelted prince that has no qualms about pretty much running around without my pants on. So somebody comes up and they're like, here's a cupcake. And so my drunk ass, I take that cupcake and I smash it into my face like a 2-year-old on its birthday party. And I'm like, rah, 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 rah. I'm getting frosted all over the place. And I'm surrounded by like every damn royal on site. And but no, it gets better. He had his bards make a ode to me. It's actually hanging up over my door. It's been years and I'm still trying to get him back.
Oh boy, that was awesome. So it's just one of the things that you got to love about the SCA is the ridiculous crap that we put each other through, and we keep coming back for more. All right, so we've hit our show limit, but I want to ask you a couple more questions. You guys said it was okay, and
Yeah.
I have to ask this one from Princess Maninko because she's awesome and she's one of our favorite viewers. As knights who have lived in multiple kingdoms and traveled extensively, how do you address calibration in pickups, tourney practice, in all the different places that you go? Because I know we have a little bit of different calibration, here and there and everywhere.
So right off the bat, in general, I kind of hit like a bitch anyway. So if they don't take it, then I'll hit them again and again and again and again, and eventually they'll hit me and I'll die. But no, the truth is, having fought in 6 or 7 kingdoms that I've resided in, calibration hasn't been an issue kingdom wide. Individuals have had calibrations, but calibrations. But everybody talks about Meridies is the lightest hitting kingdom in the. Nah, fight Adhemar. He'll have the capability to knock the piss out of you. You go out west, we thump each other. So as a general rule of thumb, I don't have much issue that I can't fix within a couple of minutes of fighting somebody. And that's living in, I don't know, 6 or 7 kingdoms.
Hey.
I would echo Duncan quite well. Having both lived in Atenvelt and lived in Meridies, which are 2 very different kingdoms, I think on paper. I've also been to Great Western War. I've been to Pennsic. I've been to Gulf Wars. I've been to so many events. I've fought in tournaments in the Midrealm, in Atlantia, and like Duncan said, my biggest problem has been individuals more than it has been anything else. And I know both of us are royal peers, so for us, getting people to call a shot might be a little different. But there was a long time for Duncan and myself where we were squires. And I might have been a count with a red belt on or a duke with a red belt on. And I certainly had some problem getting people to call shots. But it was people, and it certainly was not kingdoms where I had issues. But as for calibrations across kingdoms, as far as I'm concerned, if it's not in the helmet, I expect to feel a sting to call it, and that's all I expect. And, unless it's like a solid hit on the elbow cop. I mean, obviously there's an exception, but most shots that aren't on the helmet are gonna have, like, honestly, it could probably not be a good shot, and it would still sting if you hit me on that like shin spot of my forearm. I'm still gonna call it. But my general rule of thumb is that I do expect to feel a tinge of pain to call a shot if it's below my neck. And I think, that's kind of how most fighters calibrate. And I think for the most part, the SCA's got a really good system. And to Duncan's point, it's just a few individuals in certain kingdoms or every kingdom that kind of give the rest of it a bad name.
Yeah, I agree 100%. One of the things that I like is about our game is the fact that the person that hits you, even though you've taken the shot, the person that hits you can tell you, "Thank you, but that was flat," or you felt it, but it wasn't clean. It didn't get in the way it should have. Like, please don't take that shot.
Yeah,
I love the fact that I can.
One thing I do take a lot of pride in, and I think is very underrated and underused in SCA combat, is the whole concept of no, please don't take that. I felt it. I threw it. I know it was garbage. And any person who says that is an honorable fighter.
Yeah, I agree. All right. So let's move on to the next question here. Where did it get? Oh, so this one comes from Baron Kevin the Broken.
Nope.
Now,
All right. Well, that's the show, folks. Thank you for being here. We really appreciate it. So this question is it's how can you embrace your knighthood when you're both such terrible archers, which in period was such an important part of knighthood? I just read the questions. I can't I don't know if they're true or not.
Okay, I'm gonna speak for me and Duncan. In that, if we had an archery tournament tomorrow, I am positive Duncan and myself would at minimum give Kevin a run for his money.
I'm pretty sure the last time Kevin and I had a competition, he lost.
I know for a fact the last time Kevin and I were in a tournament together, I beat him. So
Mic drop.
I'm going to speak for his wife and say, you're cut off.
Well, you know how we do things out in the West is we just bet on it. You know, we
Thanks for the backup, Josie.
All right. So I got
and
two
I
more.
use a longbow. I don't have a recurve with an arrow rest on it, so
I longbow, recurve, crossbow. I got them all.
All right, so I've got just a couple more questions. Two more from the audience. First, a quick one for His Grace. Can we have a Little Duke cameo? That's from the Viscountess Violet. And I'm not going to mess up your last name.
I already messaged her, and no, we cannot have a Lil Duke cameo because for everybody who doesn't know who Lil Duke is a Disney Flynn Rider doll who happens to look like I did in my first reign. And he is a doll that has garb strikingly similar to mine and travels all over the world. And he has his own Facebook page called Adhemar Lil Duke. He was a little count for a little while, and now he's Lil Duke.
Nah, Little Duke.
But I am not allowed to see, touch, smell, or taste Lil Duke without forming a singularity in the universe. So I haven't actually seen him, so I don't have possession of him. He's usually in the possession of some royal somewhere in the world, getting selfies and riding ponies.
All right. Well, that explains that one. Okay, so one more from the audience, and then I've got one more from myself. So you both come from a long lineage with many squire brothers. How do they help you along the journey? And why is Pietro your favorite squire brother? And this is, of course, from Sir Pietro. Rarities.
I have to go first.
Yes.
So I'm very lucky to, in essence, have two lineages. So my first knight was Duke Trelon of Atenvelt, who just so happened to live in Meridies when I got started, which is a big part of why I became such a decent fighter so early, is because at many points in his career, Duke Trelon was considered one of the best fighters of his day. And that was my instructor from point A. And beyond that, he was a very inspiring individual. But his lineage is absolutely absurd. I meet knights that he made that weren't his squires. I meet squires of his that got knighted in other kingdoms. I meet plenty of his squires that got knighted in Atenvelt, where he reigned 6 times. So I am often as shocked as anyone else to meet. Oh, there he is. There's Little Duke.
Little Duke.
So I spend a lot of time when I travel internationally meeting people that I've never met who are somehow related to either Duke Trelawn or many of the people he ran around with back in the day. And that's quite an honor. And likewise with Circona, I spend a ton of time in Meridiers who are part of my lineage. And it's very humbling to be a part of that and realize how big the impact you have on the SCA as it grows. It's a lot to take in.
So I have considered several knights. Whether they considered me or not is another question. You know, I've considered knights based on fighting prowess, knights based on virtues, and with Kona, because Adam and I are Squire brothers, with Kona, it was based on family. He brought family and that family unity to the table. And when you look at all that, with the Squire brothers that we have now, why is Pietro the favorite Squire brother? He teaches me Spanish when we call each other. I try to speak some sort of Spanish to him, and his funny little New Yorican accent, that I got it right or I got it wrong. He helps build and develop me. That and the fact that honestly, with Kona, we're running out of squires. We're all becoming knights. So, I mean, the truth is, with Kona, I mean, he's out in Aidenvelt homesteading a goat farm. But the truth is, he's completed his part of most of our paths. Now we're doing it on our own. So, I guess Josie's the only one that can really be the favorite Squire.
Oh, gentlemen, thank you so much for being on the show this evening. Thank you for hanging out for a little bit of extra time just so we could get through those awesome questions. Thank you to the audience for sending so many fantastic and fun questions in this evening. Before we go, it's something I always like to ask my guests at the end of the show. Is there anything that that you use to get yourself into like that medieval mind space? Books, movies, music, a television show, anything that you could suggest to those unbelts out there, or anybody, someone working. Someone putting 20 hours into a tapestry, and you think that it might help inspire them to keep going.
Why do I keep going first? So here's the thing, 25, 30 years ago, the SCA used to be all about fighting, fucking, and drinking. And now it's, we're all old, married, and sorry about the offensive language.
No, don't be sorry. We warned everybody. If they didn't read the warning beforehand, it's their fault.
Here's the thing, though. I mean, we're old. We're established alcoholics, and you join this to do what you want to do. And the simple fact is, don't ever let anybody judge you. And don't ever let anyone belittle the work that you put into this. if you're out there in, you know, some crazy $5 plastic armor, if you're having fun, that's what this is about. Having fun. And, you know, you need to be able to reach out to those of us who have a firm belief in our opinions. Reach out to us if you think that you're being bullied or whatnot, so that we can stand up for you, because I love nothing more than a good fight. But damn, I don't want to do a Josie and ask, what'd you ask? But no,
Books,
I mean,
movies, TVs, music,
what books?
anything.
Books or
Anything that
movies,
you would
any media,
suggest.
Roy.
What? Hold on, let Adam go.
Okay.
I might be a little deep into my cup.
That's all right. We do that here.
So my biggest thing, the first thing I encourage everybody to do when they think about the SCA and want to make it better or make it better for themselves, is to watch A Knight's Tale. And I know that's a very controversial movie for a lot of people because it's not historically accurate, but it is absolutely SCA accurate. That movie
100%.
spells out everything that the SCA is. It is opening an event to Queen, we will rock you, because we're going to have a good time. It is cheesy. It is, for most people, barely acceptable garb. There's a lot of things about A Knight's Tale that rings true in the SCA, but more importantly than anything else, it is fun, it is witty, it is kitschy, it is all of those things that really aren't medieval, but all of us just like to think we're medieval, and that is okay. I know, and I am very proud of the fact that I try very hard to be very authentically 12th century, but I'm sitting here wearing a hat that is a millennia older than my persona, and that's okay, because a lot of the rest of my garb matches exactly what I want for the SCA, but we've got to remember to have fun. And if anything, A Knight's Tale, the movie, is a stark reminder that the entirety of the SCA is to have fun and to always remember that the underdog can come on top and get knighted, even if he was some peasant boy whose father only dreamed that he could change his stars.
Absolutely, 100%. I agree. I love A Knight's Tale. I know, like a lot of people, like you said in the SCA, are like, oh, it's not, it's not authentic. It's not this, it's not that. It's not supposed to be, but the story and
Right.
the moral of the story is very, very SCA. So with that, gents, I want to thank you once again for being on the show. It's been a blast. I hope you had as much fun as I did. I have to give a shout out to our sibling show, Between Two Peers, because we love those ladies. If it weren't for them, we would not exist. Yes, absolutely. So if you're not watching Between Two Peers, it starts or it comes on tomorrow night, Friday nights at 7:00, same time as this show. And like, what the hell else have you got to do on a Friday night during the pandemic? Go watch two beautiful women be sassy and make you laugh.
Yes.
But they're on break. Damn it. That's exactly it. They're on break. So go back and watch their back catalog. Thank you, Cal. If you would like to support our show, the best thing you can do is go out there and flat snap that like button. Or if you'd like to give us a little bit of a monetary help, we have all of Kal-bardr's productions have stickers now, including Ask the Knights Live over at Redbubble. You can see the link right there. You can go to our Patreon and support us over there. Any little bit of money helps us out, gets us new cameras, new headphones, all that kind of stuff. Everything that we need to continue to make these shows for you because that's what we do it for. And before we go, I have to thank our wonderful audience once again. If it weren't for you, we'd just be sitting around talking to each other, which wouldn't be a bad thing, but it's more fun because of folks just like you. So thanks again for coming by. We'll see you next week on Ask the Knights Live. Goodbye, everybody.